In an age of technological innovation, some might think that they cannot live without their smartphone. Although this may resonate with some of you, I think that a complete elimination of daily food would kill you a lot quicker. Food has become so abundant in our modern society that its necessity can often be taken for granted and overlooked. Because of the convenience of the modern grocery store, we have lost a connection to where our food comes from, which was ingrained in many cultures of the past. Even in Hawaii, we have lost this connection to food, which is a little bit more surprising because you can grow practically anything in Hawaii. The tropical climate provides a continual growing season without having to worry about water shortages or winter frosts. And because of these ideal conditions, people have been cultivating the islands for hundreds of years. However, in recent years, we have seen a decrease in and a loss of the majority of our local food sustainability. It is estimated that Hawaii currently imports 85 to 90% of our daily food. This only leaves a small percentage of people who are stewarding the potential abundance of the islands well. Over the past year, I have spent my Saturdays and other free time visiting local farms and talking to farmers who are seeking ways to increase Hawaii's food sustainability. I was surprised by the large number of farmers who are actively looking for the best way to grow food in Hawaii. One method of farming which really struck my attention is called Korean natural farming, or the acronym KNF. KNF is an innovative alternative to the common practices of tilling and intensive fertilizing. But what makes KNF truly remarkable is that it has answers to the big questions regarding Hawaii's current and future food security, such as what is the best way to feed the growing population of the islands? Or how can we create a food sustainability that will benefit the future? In today's presentation, I will demonstrate why Hawaii should increase and support the number of local KNF farms in an effort to increase its food sustainability. KNF is a method of farming which recognizes the naturally occurring functions of nature and seeks to integrate those principles into growing crops and raising livestock. It was developed by a man named Dr. Han Kyo Cho in South Korea in the 1960s at the Jeonnong Natural Farming Institute in South Korea. His innovative development was in response to the harmful chemical-based methods of farming that were being used heavily in South Korea at the time. Since then, KNF has spread across the world, offering rural communities a better way of cultivating the land. The simplest way to describe KNF is that it imitates an old-growth forest. The basic biological functions of a forest are simplified and applied to a field. So in a forest, there is a thick layer of biomass of leaves, rotting branches, tree stumps that are all providing an environment for all kinds of symbiotic relationships, microorganisms, and fungi to thrive. The organisms in the soil break down the biomass and convert it back into nutrients that the plants can utilize. In KNF, it focuses on cultivating and collecting those microorganisms. And the way that it does this is by, sounds kind of strange, but it takes a wooden box and they put cooked rice in it, and then it digs a hole in the forest and puts the box in the ground, covers it with dead leaves and branches and stuff, and lets that sit there for 3 to 5 days, maybe a week. And in that process, there'll be a mold that will colonate in microorganisms, a white mold that will grow on the rice. And then after a week, you collect that and you mix it with sugar to stabilize it and to reproduce, to make the microorganisms propagate and reproduce. And then after you have this mixture, you mix it with your soil and you add it to the top layer of into your plants. And what this does is it boosts the symbiotic relationships, the soil ecosystems, and the worm populations in the soil. And because of this, you don't have to add synthetic fertilizers or into the soil because the microorganisms naturally produce the nutrients that the plants need. Another aspect and unique aspect of KNF is that it recognizes that plants and animals need specific nutrients during different stages of their life. This is similar to babies who can only eat baby food when they're young. So a young plant can only have certain amounts of food and nutrients at specific times in their life. The way that Korean natural farming does this is through a variety of inputs and foliar sprays that are applied to during the growth stage, the puberty phase, and the reproductive phase of the plant. And so I have some here. This is lactic acid bacteria, if you want to smell it.
Do I want to smell it?
And what this is it's a input that is diluted in water and given to the young plants to promote healthy leaf growth and to boost the younger plants. And so these are made from a variety of different ingredients, mostly all found wherever on your farm or easy to find, such as milk, sugar, fruits, plants, herbs, just things that are around and easily accessible and edible. And then you might be interested in how all this relates back to Hawaii. And Korean natural farming was introduced to the farming community in Hawaii about 13 years ago. Since then, it has gradually grown through workshops and certification courses. Many of these have been led by Dr. Cho himself, and Dr. Cho also has invited many people to Korea to visit his farms and learn more about Korean natural farming. Despite these recent advancements, there has been a general decrease in agriculture in Hawaii since the 1950s. This includes fruits, vegetables, meats, eggs, dairy products, and pretty much all types of agricultural products. A 2012 report by the Hawaii Department of Agriculture says that in the 1970s, Hawaii was self-sufficient in eggs and milk with 240 egg farms and 120 milk operations. Today, there are about 100 egg farms and only 2 dairies left. So now that you have some background on KNF and the farming situation in Hawaii, I would like to explain why Hawaii, the state and the community, should support and increase the number of certified local KNF farms across the islands. The reason behind this is because there are countless environmental, economic, and social benefits to implementing KNF methods into the local agricultural spectrum. First, KNF has the potential to regenerate land that has been nutrient depleted. For example, one of the farms I visited was considered unfarmable when David Wong, the owner, first began farming. He had UH professors come out and test his soil, and they told him not even to bother farming. They said that the soil was too salty and too acidic for anything to thrive. Dr. Cho, however, told David to pour ocean water on all his land. And although it sounds insane to pour ocean water on ground that is already too salty, the gradual results proved quite surprising. And after 7 years of implementing KNF methods, David's farm is thriving and producing abundantly. A second benefit to the environment of Hawaii, which comes from KNF, is that its methods leave no pollution or waste behind. When I visited David's pigs, I was shocked by how clean the pens were. The ground was mostly dry, there was very few flies, and absolutely no rancid smell. How is this even possible for a pig farm? And the way that it does this is through a specific design. First, a 5-foot deep pit is dug, and then there is a layer of charcoal that's put in, and a layer of logs, and then a layer of green waste. And all 3 layers are inoculated with microorganisms and other KNF solutions. And what this does is it provides a deep litter system that actively composts all the manure and processes the toxins naturally. Because of this design, the pig pens never have to be sprayed down or cleaned, ever. Another aspect of the pig farms, when I interviewed Mike DuPont, a UH professor who is very influential in bringing KNF to Hawaii, he said that on all the pig farms he's started, there hasn't been a single pig that has an infection or any kind of disease. And in addition to this, they weren't on any hormones or antibiotics. This is a revolutionary breakthrough when compared to a conventional piggery, which has to be sprayed down regularly and has large ponds full of toxic runoff. Another aspect of farming which I would like to address is erosion and runoff. In Hawaii, a flash flood can cause serious problem. We saw that a couple weeks ago. And so if a flash flood comes, it can wash away whole sections of farmland along with the pesticides and fertilizers that were used on the plants. The way that KNF addresses this is by not tilling the soil. And although it sounds strange to a culture that automatically thinks of like a horse and plow when they hear farming, tilling is actually detrimental to the soil. Paul Jossa, an engineer at Nebraska Extension, says that tillage breaks up soil structure, destroys soil biological life, buries residue cover, and reduces soil moisture. So when a field is tilled, it loses the ability to absorb the water and properly distribute it to the plant's roots. But when a field is not tilled and a heavy rain comes, the water will be absorbed and the soil will hold its ground. But KNF is not just about helping the environment. There's also a socioeconomic benefit to implementing KNF methods into Hawaii's agricultural spectrum. With healthier and higher quality food, the community's overall eating habits will be greater. Furthermore, consumers can go to the farm where they brought their produce and meet the farmer who worked to grow their food. This creates stronger relationships and builds up the community socially. Along with this communal support, buying locally also brings money back into the economy. Statewide, if 10% of Hawaii's imported food was replaced by locally grown food, it would save over $300 million. With this money back in the economy, there would also be over 2,300 new jobs. And thus we see that there are many benefits to implementing KNF into Hawaii's agriculture. Now I would like to address some of the questions that might arise with this topic. First, with the continuous decrease in local agriculture, one might think that there would not be enough land for new farms to be started. And this is a reasonable claim because there has been a 50% decrease in Hawaii's agricultural land in the past 50 years. As the large plantations have shut down, however, smaller fruit and vegetable farms have taken that land. And today, it would only take 5% of our current farmland to fully supply all of Hawaii's fruit and vegetable needs. This is quite surprising and very encouraging for the future. Furthermore, this estimation leaves 95% of the current farmland to grow other crops and livestock to increase Hawaii's food sustainability. Secondly, some may ask why another method of farming, such as organic farming, could not be used to start new farms. And although organic farming is very beneficial, it often receives too much inflated popular attention. What I mean by this is when consumers hear the phrase organic produce, they most likely think that the farmer did not use any pesticides or fertilizers. This is a great misconception. Although many organic farmers may be entirely synthetic pesticide and fertilizer free, the regulations do not prohibit synthetically formulated compounds. The USDA allows certain pesticides, but then prohibits others. And you would think that the toxic pesticides would be prohibited. However, this is not always the case. One example of this is the pesticide neem, which comes from a naturally occurring neem tree. And although it's an organic pesticide, it is still harmful and dangerous for humans and the environment. The way that KNF addresses this is that it does not use any fertilizers or pesticides. Because the plants are extra healthy, they are not as susceptible to pests or disease. This is very similar to our own immune systems, which don't get as sick if we have a healthy and robust immune system. And there are many other parallels between our bodies and the plants' bodies and just relationships like that that we can learn from and see insight from. In conclusion, it is better for Hawaii to increase its food sustainability through support of local K&F farms rather than continuing the trend of mass imports. Although Hawaii has come to rely heavily on imported food, an increase in Hawaii's food sustainability would have benefits across the entire state, protecting the land and boosting the local economy. One might ask how you are going to implement this into the system right now. And the best way to answer this question is gradually. Start with the younger generations, teaching them how to farm using K&F methods at local school gardens or just demonstration farms. And then as they grow older and are looking for careers, offer information for them about agriculture in Hawaii's system right now. And then for all of you guys, small changes in your life would have major benefits. As I said before, replacing 10% of Hawaii's imported food with locally grown food would save over $300 million. 10% could be the choice of having a local banana rather than a banana grown in Nicaragua as a snack. And daily changes like this could bring about the change that we're looking for. Although K&F is growing in Hawaii, it will still be a gradual process of restoring significant food sustainability. But stewarding and utilizing the natural resources well today will have benefits for the future generations. Working to restore the current farming system is crucial to ensure that our grandchildren can enjoy a better paradise than the one we live in now. Thank you.